Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Unit 7. This is video 1, and this is going to look at observational learning. So make sure you title it Unit 7, Learning, and this is video 1. So in this unit, there's going to be 6 videos that we will walk through. And there's video 1, which is observational learning, which we're looking at today. There's going to be video 2 and 3, which is classical conditioning, which is a type of learning that's going to be broken down into 2 parts. There's video 4 and 5, which is going to talk about operant conditioning, which is also broken down in 2 parts. And then the last one, which is latent learning. So what is learning? Learning is a relatively permanent change in an organism's behavior due to some sort of experience. Okay, so it's a change in their behavior. And there's 3 theories that I wrote down here that we're going to explore: classical conditioning, operant conditioning, and then social cognitive learning theory. The one that we're going to focus on today is the social cognitive learning theory. It's a type of learning in which behaviors are learned by observing others. And the big researcher for this is Albert Bandura. But what I would do is I would freeze this and I would copy this chart down for your notes because it does give you a nice overview of the 3 different types of learning we're going to look at this unit. I'd also write down the people that are responsible for each one. So let's jump into social learning. Social learning is also known as observational learning. Observational learning is by observing others and imitating others. So you watch others and then you imitate others. The process by doing that is what's known as modeling. Modeling is the process of observing and imitating a specific behavior. So the way that it works is you observe something, you think about it, and then you try it. So think about shooting a basketball. You observe it, you think about it, and then you try and model what was done on TV. The big person who did a lot of research on this is known as Albert Bandura. Albert Bandura was born in December 1925. For 6 decades, he's been studying what is known as behavioral psychology. So that's one of the approaches. He came up with his social learning theory in 1961, where he used a famous Bobo doll, which we'll talk about in a minute. Today, he's rated by the American Psychological Association, the APA, as one of the top well-known psychologists of all time. He's ranked up there with Piaget, who we talked about, Skinner, who we're going to talk about in the next couple videos, and Freud. So what is observational learning? Okay, is we learn through modeling behaviors from others. And here are some videos of what his experiment looked like. Let's kind of break down the experiment. So Albert Bandura in 1961 ran a lab experiment, and his aim was to investigate if social behaviors like aggression can be learned by observing others. So he used 72 children, 24, and he basically gave them a survey beforehand and looked at their backgrounds to make sure that each child had similar parents and a similar family background. He exposed 24 to an aggressive model, an aggressive adult. 24 were not exposed to an aggressive adult, and then 24 were in the control group. And what he did was, if you could see in this top video, is he showed these little kids a video of an adult, whether it was a female or male, that was aggressive with Bobo. Okay, and then he placed the kids in the exact same room with Bobo, and he watched to see whether the kids would be aggressive. Other videos, other children were not exposed to aggressive adults. They had the Bobo doll in the corner of the room, and the adults were nurturing and were playing with other toys. Well, those kids obviously then did not touch the Bobo doll when they went into the room. And then the other control group, the other group was not exposed to an adult at all, just to see what would happen with their behavior. Okay. So the results of the Bobo doll experiment were children who observed adults showing loving behavior towards the Bobo doll copied that behavior. Children who observed adults showing aggressive behavior towards the Bobo doll copied that behavior. And children who observed adults ignoring the Bobo doll did not show any aggressive behavior towards it. So what Bandura concluded is that people learn through observing, imitating, and modeling. People not only learn by being rewarded or punished itself, but they can learn from watching and then maybe being rewarded after. This is what the Bobo doll looks like. So, What needs to be done? What are the components of observational learning? Well, the first thing is you need to pay attention to it. The consumer or the child or the adult needs to focus on the modeled behavior. So I need to watch the person doing it in order to do it the same way. Retention. Can the consumer or the individual retains the behavior in the memory? Can you remember it? And then the production process. The consumer has the ability to actually perform it. Can they perform the behavior? And then motivation. Okay, a situation arises when the behavior, you're more prone to do the behavior if you're motivated to do it. And then obviously that is the observational learning. The consumer or the individual acquires and performs the behavior early, demonstrated by the model. What they found more recently, which is known as the biological connection here, is we have mirror neurons in our brain in the frontal lobe that actually are active when we're watching others performing a certain action. So in class, if I were to write something on the board and you were to copy it down, these mirror neurons would be trying to mirror the behavior. Research was uncovered in 2002 by Giacomo Rizzolatti. He basically found with PET scans, and they revealed the activity as we observe another person's behavior, our brains generate inner stimulation. We're trying to imitate others and their emotions. Okay, so if you were to see me smile, your mirror neurons are watching me smile, and you may be more prone to smile. There are positive impacts to social learning, and these are known as prosocial effects. Prosocial behavior is positive and helpful behavior. So I try and demonstrate a lot of prosocial behaviors, which I'm encouraging. I'm reading. I'm not violent. I'm saying thank you and please. Models are most effective when I'm actually consistent with my behavior. So if I'm consistent with my behavior and I get my homework done and I make sure the videos are up for you, you're more prone then to be prosocial in my course. There's also antisocial behaviors. These are destructive and violent behaviors. These are things like hitting and abuse and negative language, racist acts. Okay, these all have negative impacts on our environment as well. If you are more prone to see these things, you may be more prone to do these things. There's a ton of research being done on the social learning theory and how much television and what we watch on TV can that really impact our actions. Video games, abuse. If you were brought up in an abusive household, is that going to mean that you're more abusive? Drinking and drugs, if you witness it and you're exposed to it, is that going to mean that you're more prone to do these things? And we will look at some of the research and studies that have been done on this idea, but there's a lot of components that also impact your behavior. So here, does social learning always occur? Do we always model somebody? We don't necessarily imitate everything we see. We are more likely, though, to imitate others who are similar to us, who are successful and admirable. Behaviors that are being reinforced rather than punished. I'm going to do something if I'm reinforced for it. And whose actions and words are consistent. It's kind of what I told you before. If I'm more consistent with my actions and I'm not obviously somebody who goes against my word, you're going to be more prone to do it. So that is video 1. Hopefully you'll have it done for class, and I will see you at the beginning of the semester.